Welcome to week number 4 of Living Faith. We have reached the halfway point of Lent. Congratulations. Our Lenten journey has led us to reflect on areas of our lives where we are tempted, stepping out of our comfort zones in faith with God, and what it means to have a healthy desire for happiness in our lives. These spiritual lessons are true for us personally and for our St. Agnes and St. William of York community. Our spiritual reflections have also been a reflection on the mission, vision, and purpose of our community. This week's readings tell us of 2 encounters. We hear about David and how God's call sets him apart to be king over the chosen people, and the man born blind who encountered the healing touch of Jesus. David was the youngest of Jesse's sons. His station was so lowly that he was tending his father's flock. Shepherds and shepherding were not thought of as prestigious jobs in the ancient world. And here God breaks into the lowliness of David's life and calls him to this incredible task. Do we believe that God continues to break into our everyday lives? Do we have confidence that God is involved in the day-to-day affairs of life? Studies tell us that most Catholics do not believe in a personal God. Yet God is so personally involved in the affairs of humanity that he chose to take on our human condition in the Incarnation. If he went to that length for us, why would we think that he's disinterested now? The man born blind was going about his daily routine when Jesus walked up to him, smeared mud on his eyes, and healed him. Talk about God breaking into the affairs of daily life. This encounter with Jesus leads the man to witness to the Lord and what he did for him to the Jewish authorities. This encounter sets off a series of events, and through them all the man gives honest witness and is given the gift of faith. Towards the end of the story, the man confidently proclaims, "I do believe, Lord." And we are told that he fell down and worshiped Jesus. I would like to posit a theory that so many Catholics do not believe in a personal God because God is not in the habit of breaking into our daily affairs in an extraordinary way. It is perhaps even harder to believe in the closeness of God in the 21st century because we have built up so many walls around ourselves to keep ourselves in and other people out. In a way, we've become so used to the extraordinary, we can see people on the other side of the globe from our phones. We can get instantaneous information from the internet, and we can even have Amazon Prime deliver in under an hour right to our doorsteps. The Amazon drones got so much press coverage recently because we've become bored waiting 2 days for home delivery, and this is the newest thing in instantaneous gratification. God would have to do something pretty spectacular to get our attention. And there is the perennial question of why God lets bad things happen to good people. This is perhaps the single greatest stumbling block to belief in a personal God for most people. Matthew Kelly, in his book, The 4 Signs of a Dynamic Catholic, shares some fascinating research about transforming our Catholic people into an engaged people. There is a general principle in the secular world that 80% of people do 20% of the work. For example, Coca-Cola sells hundreds of thousands of Cokes every day, but they generate most of their revenue from big companies that serve millions of Coke products every day, like McDonald's and Marriott. Kelly wondered if this principle held true in Catholic parishes. So his Dynamic Catholic Institute conducted years of research and discovered that in Catholic parishes, it is actually 6.4% of registered parishioners who contribute 80% of volunteer hours. 6.8% of registered parishioners donate 80% of financial contributions. And there is an 84% overlap between these two groups. So just 7% of Catholics are accomplishing more than 80% of parish ministry and support in the United States. The research went further to discern the 4 characteristics which mark the 7% of parishioners who are highly engaged in parish life. From that research, Kelly identifies 4 signs of a dynamic Catholic. They are prayer, study, generosity, and evangelization. If we could reach just 1 more % of our community in the course of a year, that would equate to an 11.4% increase in volunteer hours to reach more people, and increased revenue to support the mission. Imagine if we increased by 1% every year. In a decade, the parish would be transformed. Are these 4 signs of a dynamic Catholic present in our lives? Dynamic Catholics have a commitment to daily prayer with a set time and structure. Dynamic Catholics are active learners. They take advantage of time to sit at the feet of the Master, Jesus, and to learn from him through reading Catholic literature or listening to Catholic broadcasts. Dynamic Catholics see generosity as the heart of the response to Christ's activity in their lives. This is often expressed as financial generosity, but it spills over into other areas of life, especially in their interactions with people. And finally, dynamic Catholics want to share their faith with others and share their love for God with them. Each of these characteristics may be more or less present in our lives. We may be part of the 7% right now. We may be part of the 93%. Whatever the case may be, the principle of continuous improvement still applies. That is, to make small steps, which at first may seem insignificant, but over time they will add up to great change. Think of a person who is morbidly obese. If you tell them to run a marathon tomorrow, they're not going to do it. But if you tell them to take a walk on a treadmill for 5 minutes a day, over that time, that 5 minutes is going to add up and eventually grow to 10 and 20 minutes and so on. Continuous improvement over time leads to great change. If we look at the 4 areas and find ourselves lacking in one or more of them, what is a small step that we can take to get moving? If there are areas where we are strong, what small steps can we take to grow? How is this lived out in the parish? Many of our Catholic people are content to remain exactly where they are, and nothing is going to move them. No amount of personal witness, fervor for the faith, or excitement is going to force them to get up and sing a hymn or start serving their brothers and sisters. We have to pray for them and ask God to break through their suits of armor. There are, on the other hand, a large group of people that are an untapped resource. They are hungry for spiritual growth or to begin stepping out of their comfort zones, but we just haven't shown them a way to do that, and so they stay just where they are. There are also another group of people who are hurting for one reason or another. Either they have sins which weigh them down, sufferings in their life or in the lives of people whom they love, or just those who have been bruised and battered by the world. They want answers, and the church can provide them. A common denominator among all of these people is that they all need a place to feel like they belong, and that is what the parish should be. Belonging is the great hook that will bring people to meet the Lord in the 21st century. It is clear that a vast majority of Catholics need to take baby steps to start moving. The 93% figure may seem overwhelming, but think of the incredible potential that's there. Some of the 93% are sitting in our pews every Sunday. Some attend Mass a few times a year, others not even that much. Moving each group in small steps may seem impossible, but if we remember that God is with us and wants his people to have an active faith life, then it is more than possible. It is our mission. May God bless you today and throughout this week.